Hello YouTube, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney on this channel. I answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answer they need from an employment attorney. We have a question here from YouTube user Mr. D, whose username we will not extrapolate from. And it's a big question, so I actually just made a video about the second half of this question, which was about deleting evidence that opposing counsel mistakenly sent to you. But I'm going to answer the first part of the question here, because that's the reason why I actually selected this question. I just got real riled up about the second half of this question, so I do recommend you check out that video. I'm going to read the first half of the question, leave off the second half, and get to answer it. Mr. D says, "Hey Vince, I was wondering if you could do a quick video on how in-house counsel for big corporations work, like different levels and how or who ultimately is the decision maker. I am pro se in dealing with a huge corporation that has everything in-house, including employment defense attorneys." And then the second half of the question goes on. Okay, so most companies, even really big companies, will have in-house counsel for employment law. Let me start again. Small companies have in-house counsel, and depending what that small company does and what kind of challenges they face in the legal realm, their in-house counsel will have different specializations. Like if you work in retail, your in-house counsel probably deals with a lot of leasing, right? Like store space leasing. Like if you're like brick and mortar retail, that's their main thing. If you're in fashion, a lot of times in-house counsel is going to specialize in intellectual property issues, right? Because a lot of fashion lawsuits, especially fast fashion, right? They're getting sued all the time, dealing with infringement issues and stuff like that. If you're in startup culture, well, you're going to be dealing with a lot of funding, series compliance, getting investors in and complying with the laws there. Maybe some public offering compliance. Maybe you're specializing in how to do public offerings. You might be specialized in compensation models, right? Like giving people options, equity as they enter the firm as the startup obtains specialized talent to continue to grow, because it's cash strapped but equity rich. So different smaller entities, and by smaller entities I'm talking about companies worth like 100 million and under, right? Are going to have a general counsel with a different specialization, and then maybe like a couple people in the legal department, 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever it is, in the legal department with different fields of expertise. Now, dealing with that size of company, and you're dealing with the in-house counsel, that is a temporary situation most often. You're dealing with in-house counsel to see if they can get it settled or somehow dismissed, but that's kind of unlikely if your case has merit. And they're seeing if they can get this taken care of before they have to kick it to outside counsel, because outside counsel is expensive, and the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, will give the legal department the business if they spend too much on outside counsel attorneys, right? Like CFO will be like, why do we pay you people all this money when you have outside counsel doing everything? You're spending $800,000 a year on outside counsel, and we pay you $3 million a year, and it seems like outside counsel's got all the expertise and are doing all the actual work, right? So there's like some pressure on these legal departments not to send too much stuff to outside counsel, and sometimes there's like additional considerations where they want to take care of things in-house because they're worried about certain issues or reputational things, whatever it is. So in that situation, the person handling your case on an employment front will probably have at least more than a general notion of employment law, and will be motivated probably to get it taken care of in some way. That's why it hasn't gone to outside counsel yet. It is very unlikely that in-house counsel will try your case. Very unlikely, unless you get to a very huge company, and I can give an example of that later. Now, when you're dealing with them, your main question is who's got the authority. The person you're dealing with directly has some authority to get the case settled, almost always. The amount of authority they have will vary depending on the decisions general counsel, the CFO, the CEO have all made, right? If they have a meeting and it's the CFO, the general counsel, and the CEO, and they're like, listen, get this done. Here's 200 grand. Use as little of it as you can to get this done, but go get it done. And that's the authority that person has. We don't know. We don't know how much authority that person has. A lot of times what I see is a lot of general counsel be like, yo, you got 20 grand, 50 grand, some 5-figure sum to go get this settled. And if you can't get it settled for that, call me if you need more authority. It's very common in mediation. I always get riled up in mediation when people come in with like authority for 20 grand. And it's like, we were at 3 million. You knew we weren't taking 30 grand. There's no way this case ever got settled for 30 grand. Why did you come in here with 20 grand in settlement authority? That was wasting everyone's time. Now we got to sit here where you make a phone call with a busy general counsel or a busy CEO or a busy CFO and try to get more authority. But you can't get them on the phone immediately because they're a busy Fortune 1000 executive, and they're hard to get on the phone. So now we're just sitting around having snacks while you waste everyone's time. Asshole, right? But okay, fine. Listen, it's valuable to be at mediation. It's valuable to have people sit around and talk about giving your client money. It's valuable for opposing counsel to go and beg the authorities at their company for more money for your client. That's all valuable. It's annoying. It's a waste of my time. A waste of my client's time. But fine. Go get the authority. Here's the issue. Sometimes they can't get the authority. And we don't know why, right? Sometimes the issue isn't that the case is not good. The case could be fantastic. The issue might be the CFO knows that company doesn't have a bunch of money right now, and they're probably going to have a whole bunch more money in 3 months. So the CFO might secretly be saying, hey, yeah, we can't give you more money right now. We'll revisit this in 3 months. Just drag the litigation out. Try to spend as little time on this as you can, dragging it out, and we'll just dead end the mediation and try to get them to take a different sum in 3 months when we have more money. That happens. It certainly happens. Now, there's bigger companies. Like, let's look at Meta. Meta has a penchant for hiring directors of employment litigation. This is a job that people in my firm get approached for pretty routinely. And, listen, it pays $350 to $450, maybe even more in certain situations, based on my understanding. Now, Meta cannot hire enough of these. They're thirsty AF for these specific hires because these people are generally going to be employment attorneys who are experienced enough to evaluate claims and value them. Now, I don't know for a fact that these people have broad authority to settle claims, but I suspect that's the gig. When I look at the kinds of attorneys who get offered this job, and a better way to put it is begged to take this job, I suspect that people are being selected on their ability and their vast experience in valuing claims. It's the only reason you'd be after both plaintiff side and defense side attorneys without any preference, as far as I can tell, for who you get, right? Like, defense attorneys are better at defending cases because that's what they do all day, right? Plaintiff attorneys are better at bringing cases because that's what they do all day. So if you're hiring, you don't care which you get. Guess what? You're probably not defending cases, and you're definitely not bringing cases for Meta on the employment front, right? They're an employer, not an employee. So why don't you care which kind of attorney you get? Oh, it's because you're cutting checks. And both defense and plaintiff side attorneys are great at valuing cases. That's how we survive. In fact, you could argue plaintiff attorneys might even be better because we need to pick cases based on their value that we take and we represent people in, because that's how we make money. And making money that way is how we keep a roof over our head and food in our mouth and, all the good things. So I suspect at that kind of company, the Meta level company, the directors of employment litigation probably have authority up to like $300K or something like that. Like, I would imagine they're disposing of many employment cases unilaterally, although they have some metrics, I suspect, on the back end. Like, why do you just cut everybody $300,000 when everybody else is disposing of cases for like 80 grand sometimes, right? So there's metrics on the back end, but they have authority, I suspect. And I don't work for Meta. I haven't been at the inner workings of Meta. I'm talking out of school. This is what I believe. This is my opinion based on what I've seen. You also have companies like IBM. IBM, I speak about on the channel a lot, and all the wisdom. They, through their fantastic CEO, Ginny, created a extensive video presentation about how IBM intended to commit age discrimination and favor younger employees over older employees. And then they spent the next decade fighting hundreds upon hundreds and eventually thousands of age discrimination claims because everybody had the evidence that IBM wanted to hire and promote younger workers and that they didn't value and viewed their older workers as problematic. This is, of course, one of the great instances of CEO hubris and stupidity, and I will never, never thank Ginny enough for buying me my farm. I'm kidding, 100% kidding, but like it was incredibly stupid. Like it was just shocking that there was no adult in the room who was like, "Hey, this is illegal. We're creating a video presentation for every employee in our company about how we want to do something illegal," and every single person over 40 who has a negative workplace consequence can then sue us for age discrimination because we created this well-documented evidence of our intention to engage in age discrimination, right? It's very similar to like Ernst & Young creating a course for female employees about how female employees should like subordinate themselves to male employees and be like submissive so the male employees don't feel threatened, right? Yeah, that happened. We have a video on the channel about it. It's insane. Companies are so stupid. Incredibly stupid. Like, so stupid that you almost think, well, how could I ever hire this company to work on anything for me? As an accounting firm, they don't understand the basics of like how to survive as a company and engage in like the laws, right? So anyways, IBM created themselves such a huge issue that they ended up hiring, from my understanding, which is limited, hundreds of attorneys worldwide to defend some of these cases. I think at one point they settled close to 500 cases in a single month in Britain, right? Like that's what we're talking about. That's the volume we're talking about. So they have, I think it's in Texas, I think they have like centers of in-house employment defense attorneys, and I believe those employment defense attorneys are actually empowered to do trials in certain situations where they can't get the case settled. In my experience, they're always eager to get the case settled because they know it's a loser. It's a loser, and IBM, as far as I can tell, their main activity as a company at this point is to lay people off. So they're just laying people off all the time and facing then corresponding claims all the time. And you have these big, giant pools of, kind of employment attorneys that are cogs in a machine to try to get those cases settled or disposed of. And if they have to, if they must, I think they do try those cases. I don't think they go to outside counsel as much as they once did for that because they just have too much volume. It's not cost effective to hire outside counsel for that many cases. You can't be paying $1,600 an hour when you have, thousands of cases against you. Perhaps. I suspect, right? Now, those attorneys are also going to have authority, but I suspect there's like a structure of authority there, and at some point it probably has to go out of the legal realm into the financial realm to get additional authority for settlement, but I suspect those attorneys have more authority than average to get cases disposed of. So when you're asking me who the ultimate decision maker is, it depends, but I've given you my best kind of roadmap for who might be the decision maker. In small companies, the mom and pop companies, closely held corporations, it's the family, it's the woman, the man who started the company, like the leader, the central figure. That's the decision maker. The attorney and the general counsel can say whatever they want, but everything they do is that everything that happens in that kind of company is happening at the whim of the principal, right? So we can say whatever we want, like, oh, counsel has authority, the counsel's the decision maker. Probably not. I mean, to an extent, sure, but if they want to cut you a $300,000 check, I believe the principal, she or he, is going to have to give you the nod on that settlement, right? So it's all about the size of the company. It's all about the structure of the company. It's about what's going on in the company, right? Like, they've got big employment law problems. They probably might have a more built-out employment network of attorneys. And that network of employment attorneys might have more authority. There might be different levels of authority for different levels within that piece of their organization. Anyways, Mr. D, I really hope this is helpful. If it was, like, subscribe, comment down below, share the channel so that it may grow. And I wish you well. I wish you great success with your claim, and I hope you enjoy that piece of evidence that opposing counsel sent to you in all of her or his foolishness. Thank you.